So congratulations.
Thank you.
I was very excited that you pulled out the victory. Full disclosure, I was there at a fundraiser in Los Angeles for you, along with Congressman Liu and Congressman Schiff. What are your impressions so far? You got a really nice office.
Well, lots of impressions. It became really real. You're walking in and your name is on the nameplate as you enter. And yeah, it's very humbling to recognize that a long fight to get here, but now you have to do the work of the community and the country and your district, and I'm excited to do so.
So let's just say that you have 2 years, because you don't know what's going to happen, where this country is going to be, how divisive it's moving forward is going to be, or if we're going to coalesce into some kind of community again. How do you define success for the 2 years?
That's a great question. Richard, I honestly believe our country has gotten to the point, the low point of this partisanship, that we are ready to reach across the aisle and do the work we were elected to do. That's what I ran on, common sense for common ground. And it may be Pollyannish, but I am hopeful that we focus on what we have in common, not what we don't have in common. And I'm prepared to reach across the aisle, find people within my caucus, within the Democratic caucus, as well as the Republican caucus, and find those things that we can focus on, work together, and pass.
So it brings up a couple of questions. One, you have a whole new coalition of Democrats.
Right.
A lot of them are very much on the progressive side, on the left side. They're vigilant, they're excited, they're energized.
Right.
The first problem is going to be, how do you create comedy with your own party, considering the variety of dispositions of the new members? How do you get the Democrats to come together?
I believe when you look at the majority that we have now, the tipping point in getting us the majority were those seats that could go either way. And fortunately, they went the Democratic way. So if we want to get reelected, we know that we have to stay somewhat in the middle of the road in bipartisan legislation. You know, there's an old adage that if you don't have a seat at the dinner table, you are on the menu. And if we don't do this correctly, we're going to be on the menu because we're going to lose these seats. So we have to work with our Republican brethren on the other side to move our country forward if we want to re-win and maintain the majority in 2020.
So here's an old trick about getting along with people that you don't get along with. Find something good to say about them. What can you say positive about Republicans that you're going to be working with?
It depends on which Republicans we're talking about, but as a whole, you have to remember, I used to be a Republican. 20 years ago, I was a Republican, back when Republicans believed in environmental stewardship, believed in a woman's right, believed in voting rights. There was a lot of commonality. The difference between Democrats and Republicans at that time was not as great as it is now. And I believe those Republicans are still there, that their voices have been diminished because of our current president. But they know that climate change is real. They know that we have infrastructure needs. They know that we can do better with how we provide health care to the citizens of our country. And we just need to find where the common ground is. While I may be here in what I believe and they may be here, there are issues that we can find that common ground and vote and pass and hopefully have the President of the United States not veto it.
The thing about the Republican Party, which is fascinating to me, is that when the Tea Party movement first happened, to me that was a great discussion. Because you go back to the original founders, Hamilton and Jefferson, small government versus big government. To me, that was a great discussion to have. Now the Republican Party is undefinable to me because it's Trump's party. So those members of Congress that are going to toe his line, how do you deal with that? Because there's, I heard Congressman Swalwell talk about how he had many friends on the Republican side, how they used to work together. Now when he walks down the hallways of Congress, they literally don't make eye contact. They turn away from him. I don't know if it's shame. I don't know if it's they just don't want to open up the discussion. But how do you deal with people that are stolen from their own values and virtues?
I think the Republican Party is going through their own challenges, and as to who they are, who is their identity. The Republican Party that is being run today by President Trump is not the Republican Party of Ronald Reagan. Yet there are still many Republicans in the party that consider themselves Reagan Republicans. Their voices have been quieted, without a doubt, with the current administration. But hopefully their voices will rise, and their voices will rise because that Republican Party that I used to know has an opportunity to work across the aisle and work with us in a bipartisan way. There's a bit of a fight going on for the soul of that party right now. And as the support of Trump continues to diminish, I think most of the people that are in Congress are political animals, of course. And as political animals, they are going to do what they think is right to get reelected. And if staying with Trump helps them get reelected, then that's what they'll do. And if leaving Trump's brand of Republican politics allows them to get reelected, that's what they will do. So a lot of this is going to really ultimately be driven by public sentiment. And if public sentiment continues to move away from the Trump agenda, I think you'll see those politicians following.
One more question.
Sure.
Orange County is close to the border. A lot of immigrants live and work in Orange County. They really couldn't function without them. Where do you stand on the wall, on immigration reform, on family separation, all that stuff?
Well, let's start with this narrative that is put out there that Democrats don't believe in border security is nothing short of unadulterated BS. Democrats do believe in strong borders and strong ports. That's why Democrats in bipartisan fashion supported Senate Bill 744 in 2013 that provided $46 billion for border and port security. Now, what Democrats don't believe in is building a 6th century wall to keep people out. We believe let's use today's 21st century technologies to address protection for our border and our ports. So that means fencing, that means drones, that means using infrared technologies, that means hiring people to police our ports and our borders, and also having humane borders. This idea of separation at the border of these families is absurd and cruel. And the fact that our president has allowed this to happen is a stain on the reputation of Americans, and I'm hopeful we can get past this as quickly as possible and get these families reunited.
I hope that you're successful. You're a good guy. I was happy to help support your run.
Thank you, because I wouldn't be here without you and many others.